Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. You know, the thing that really annoyed me about this episode is maybe about one or two things. Actually, no, two things. The fact that they put so many characters on this episode, it felt like they were just vomiting it out characters. And then the constant musical chairs that they were doing. Like, I'll give you an example. In scenes that just seemed, why? Why was that necessary? So like Turner and Molly were having a conversation about somebody giving Turner some expensive bath gifts and how that would look bad because she's a public official, Mayor Adams, blah blah blah. And so, she's like, I have an idea who it is. It's Sunny. So then at some point she talks to Sunny and she's like, listen, somebody sent me some expensive gifts. And if I find out who that person is, I can sit there and prosecute them for harassment, and I would win. So basically, they're saying, don't send me any more shit. Which, okay, fine. But was it really necessary to have Molly in the scene, in that particular scene, if she's just going to go to Sunny 40 minutes on later into the episode just to tell him that? One second. Like, what was the point of that first scene? And that's the thing. I felt like this whole episode, they were kind of doing that a little bit. Like, okay, I was meant to think about this before I hit the record button. Major stuff is going to be going down tomorrow, right? And so, in their effort to kind of slow things down a little bit, they had to do like busy work. Like, everybody was just kind of everywhere, and you're just kind of mixing the matches and stuff like that. Like, the same with Anna and Laura talking about Liesel, and if she made the right decision by advocating for supervised visits, which I'm still just like, supervised visits, really? I don't know. I mean, like, I get it. They don't trust Liesel. Morocco wants to sit there and find out more about Brit. So this is as much as a compromise as it's going to get. But I don't know. Something about supervised visits just seemed like, really? Anyway, Anna said it was, and, it's better to have her as a friend and an enemy and some other stuff in there. Also, that she did sit there and change, or as much as Liesel is going to change. Now, the scene with Chase and Willow pretty much unloading her stuff that was going on, the slap and everything like that. And, Chase was like, listen, I'm not allowed to sit there and say as a cop, but as a person, yeah, Lucas is definitely asking for that smack. And of course, he talks about, the fact that, the adoption process has stalled because, Gio is still acting all stank and pissy with Brooklyn. And so, like, now she doesn't want to sit there and pursue this whole adoption thing until she starts to get himself squared away with Gio. And he's kind of feeling like this is not going to happen. So the resentment is going to start. Now, let's get into this whole Trina and Kai Stella stuff. Because, at the end of the day, listen, stop listening there wondering what's going on, what's wrong, and, how come you guys can't work this out and everything like that. And, Trina, it just comes down to a level of trust and betrayal. And even though Stella practically said the same thing that I've been sitting there saying as far as, like, yeah, he might have put his loyalty in the wrong person, but his principles and everything like that, he felt like at the moment he did what was right? And I guess on some level, I'm like, Trina, you defended Ava like there was no tomorrow, right? Like, yeah, we all get that Drew isn't a good person, but, Ava has done some shit before as well. And you defended her. So I guess on some level, you would think that she would have at least a bit of understanding where Kai is coming from. But she's all like, nope, he betrayed me and that's it. And Stella's like, you sound just like your dad, very rigid, very black and white. But in the real world, people, emotions, they're not set like that. And I guess at the end of the day, it is what it is. You don't want to sit there and rock with him? Fine. I personally think that Kai should just stop trying. I really, really think that he should just stop trying because, listen, if she don't want to be with you, she don't want to be with you, move the hell on. You know? Maybe be with somebody who is less rigid than her. And, maybe make better choices. Who knows? I made the choice that you made and you can't undo it. And that's just, you know, it is what it is. Um, I mean, there's a point where Kai comes over and she walks away. She's like, "Oh, I gotta do something at the library or whatever." Then she goes back and she sits down somewhere else. And Stella's like, listen, you can win her back. You're just gonna have to try a lot harder. And I was like, why? I was just like, why? And it's not like an insult to Trina or anything like that, but like, why? Why try that hard with anybody? If I have to sit there and bend over backwards to sit there and be with somebody, trust me, they are so not worth it. Made the try, it didn't work, move the hell on. Then he walks over there and he has some iced tea. He's like, oh, would you like to share some iced tea with me or whatever? Okay, sure, whatever. And she's like, nah, I gotta return this book or something like that. But then she turns around, but she's like, but thank you. And maybe it's just a metaphor. Maybe I'm reading into this too much. It's like, thank you for still trying to get back together with me, for making things right with me. Okay, sure, whatever. I could probably rant more about that, but it's just gonna get me annoyed. Um, Sonny is talking to Gio because Donna wants him to go to the birthday party, and he's like, listen, I'm gonna go. Donna goes in the pool, and Sonny's like, listen, I get it, Brooklyn and Dante's gonna be there, so if you don't want to go, that's fine. And he pretty much just kind of sits there and says, maybe you need to sit there and give him a chance. Michael at some point comes over, and Michael's like, listen, I get it, I've written off my dad a bunch of times, right? But family is everything, and he still is just acting all stank about it. And I mean, I'm just gonna be honest. Again, at this point, I'm just so over Gio and his attitude, and I get it. I think he mentioned to Michael or somebody that oh no, he didn't. It was Brooklyn. I could have swore, like, is he still mad about her her giving him up? Because it seemed like he understood that. But I guess it's about the whole fight that Brooklyn and Lulu had. About leaving the stuff out there for Rocco to find intentionally to sit there and get back at Lulu. But I'm like, bro, you do realize that Lulu and Brooklyn have been going back and forth with each other for years, right? Like you came in there, you saw that one part, and that was it. But and then you're sitting there being all chummy chummy with Lulu. And I was like, how many times did Lulu sit there and hurt Brooklyn? It's like I get it, people aren't perfect and stuff like that, but it's like, bro, you just came in there, you saw one part of an argument, and you just was like, oh, I'm done. Instead of sitting there looking at the whole thing and looking at their history. Because it ain't hard to sit there and find. You can ask people and realize that they both go back and forth with each other, but, whatever. Um, and Brooklyn and Dante are there talking about, well, Dante's like, listen, we given him enough time and space. We need to sit there and start making more of a valid effort. But Brooklyn's like, I don't want to do that because at least with you have more of a chance to sit there building a relationship with Gio. Me, on the other hand, he came in here, he saw me fighting with her, and he was pretty much done with me. But I guess she kind of riles up and, well, Dante kind of gets her back on board on fighting hard to get back in Gio's good graces. And again, I'm so over it at this point because I'm like, bro, listen, I get your initial anger, I get it, but even Rocco was like, you don't need to sit there and be upset on my behalf because She actually want to do me a favor. So, and on some level, Brooklyn being all kind of down and upset that Gio is still upset with her says, you still upset with your goddamn mother. You fired her, right? You fired her from home and from deception, even though that she didn't know that she was being tricked by Lucy. You're still holding on to that about the way that she handled your mess that you made. So part of me is like, when people sit there and say, "Oh, I feel bad for Brooke," and I was like, "Really?" Because like she's giving hella attitude to the mother who gave her life, or who wound up fixing a mistake that she made. And although she didn't sit there and fix it in the way that she liked, remember she sat there and said that I fired her because I thought it would feel good to take back some sort of BS power. So I'm kind of just like, why should I actually even care? Like, why should I even feel bad for her when you're doing the exact same thing to your own goddamn mother? Sent her and Gloria packing. I'm just gonna start ranting at this point. So Anna, the conversation with Anna and Jordan, my takeaway from that is, Jordan Smith is saying, I've been at this whole like undercover for a while and I haven't found anything on him. And if I don't sit there and start playing the part, living large, renting a bigger place, whatever, then I'm gonna get found out. And also I enjoy the work, so why should I not enjoy the money? And that's when Anna was like, listen, the longer you're undercover, the harder it's going to be for you to get out. You may get seduced by all this money and power and status, and you may start to forget why you're doing what you're doing in the first place. Anna reminded her, hey, he did sit there and kidnap me, kidnap Jason, was going to sit there and Lucky, and was going to sit there and off all of us. So just in case you kind of forgot, with all the bills that you're sitting there making and stuff like that, that the dude is still a killer. Let's not forget that. Um, and then Curtis comes by. See, she wants Curtis to come by to inspect, as she put it, every single inch of her place. Girl, you just trying to find excuses to still sit there and hang out with this man, who is a married man, by the way, in case you forgot. Um, she didn't forget. She just clearly don't give a damn. See, Curtis was trying to make things right with his wife. Some chef that she likes. He's going to facilitate a meeting and a tasting and everything like that. And I'm like, that's cool. That's nice. You want to sit there and try to do something nice for your wife, but sit there updating Michael on his progress with his wife and just thanking him for not letting him quit, not letting him resign, and just really kind of having his back, right? And then in the same breath, you go make a beeline right to Jordan's place so you can expect it. And I'm just like, why? Why does she even need him to inspect every single inch of the place? Why? Why is he an interior designer? See, that would have made more sense for Maxie to come over and do that, but not him. But whatever. Now Isaiah and Portia, Portia's not there, um, telling Isaiah the good news that they're getting their marriage back on track and things are looking up and everything like that. And Isaiah's like, how does Jordan fit into all this? He apologizes, but she's like, hey, listen, it's just out of concern. Jordan's not a factor. And it's funny when she said Jordan's not a factor, like she doesn't. She's like, Jordan's not a consideration. You see Curtis going right to Jordan's house. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, as mad as you're gonna be with Jordan, you need to sit there and be mad at your damn man too. That's something that I've always had an issue with. Like whenever I seen a man cheat, a woman will sit there and start fighting the other woman. And I'm just like, why? Why? I mean, I understand that at that point people were just emotional and everything else. But I'm like, instead of using it there, putting hands on her, well, you don't need to be putting your hands on anybody. But if you're going to do it, why don't you just put your goddamn hands on him? That's something I've never understood. You know. Uh, and then let's talk about Drew. See, Drew had his meetings with Boyles, and Boyles started asking questions like, why do you want to get rid of Sonny? And he explains why, they never pay for their crimes, and he don't like them, and blah 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 blah. And then Molly comes over. See, Molly comes over, and she's more diplomatic. She's like, "Listen, Scout has been missing her mother. She needs her family. Let's find a way to sit there and try to make that work." He's like, "Oh, I'm going to DC." He told, and his funny thing is though, like even before then, he was sitting there talking to Kai, and Kai was like, "What about Scout? Scout is going to miss her family while she's going away, moving her away to DC. Like, you think that's like really a good idea?" I forgot what kind of lie or BS that he made up to sit there and justify his reasons, but he justified his reasons, which really just came across selfish as hell. So then when Molly was sitting there approaching him with the same goddamn thing, Drew at one point he was like, listen, I'm so glad. She was like, listen, I want to thank you for being kind and diplomatic and everything like that. And, I wish you was the first person to approach me. Unlike your mother, who pretty much kind of came guns a-blazing, which she really didn't. But, like, long story short, he's like, your mother is trying to undermine my relationship with Scout, and I'm not going to stand that. I'm not going to stand for that. I'm not going to stand for that. So your mother's not going to have any contact or his aunts. And I'm just like, at one point you sat there and said, well, thank you for being so considerate and being so diplomatic. And at the same time, you're like, oh, but you're not going to have any contact with her. Wow. So now she's like, what the, you know? I mean, I knew that her conversation was not going to go any better, but at least she didn't come in all hot headed or anything like that. And again, Alexis didn't come in hot headed either. But, the dude's just like, I'm doing what I want to do. Oh, he also told Kai to be his eyes and ears while he goes to DC. Not just on the politics stuff, but everything. Right? He lost Willow and stuff like that, so he's regrouping in DC and you know, he's probably not really making a lot of time for her, being raised by nannies, seeing her every so often. So this way he could just, you know, pat himself on the back for being a halfway, somewhat decent dad. Because he's there, even if he's not there. Hmm. Like there's something else. Anyway, I feel like that's about it. I can't think of anything else. I just simply can't. But I'm pretty sure I probably missed some stuff because, again, vomit dumping characters and a lot of musical chairs with different characters. Oh, also there was a scene with Laura and Sunny. See what I'm talking about? And what I found really funny was Laura approaching Sunny and being like, "Oh, it seems like you're trying to snub me." And he's like, "Listen, I just don't want any blowback with you. Right now they're using me as a weapon against you." And Boys even said that he was like 5 points up in the polls or whatever. But she's all like, no, I'm not going to distance myself from you. It doesn't really matter. But then she's like, okay, tell me about Marco. Like, she's like, tell me about the Marco situation. He goes off into some wild tangent that literally had nothing to do with the Marco situation. It's like he didn't answer the question. And so she was like, listen, I got to protect this town from organized crime, but at the same time, I would rather have you than sit well. But you may do something that I may not be able to protect you from. What the kind of conversation am I actually looking at? Am I listening to? I mean, talk about trying to play both sides or be in the middle. You're basically sitting there asking him, did he break the law by kidnapping Marco Riaz? And then you're like, but I don't want to distance myself from you. He's like, well, I gotta protect the town from organized crime. But I'd much rather have you in power than Sitwell. You know, you are making it so easy for a slime ball like Boyles to actually win. Oh, she was sitting there talking about um a lot expansioning the expanding the public library, whatever. When she was sitting there talking to Anna, then Boyles came over and Boyles like, okay, well you got your bill passed. So how many bribes did Sonny have to sit there and make to make that happen? Was that scene even necessary? Like it was things like that that was just like it was so goddamn head scratching. Listen, I like GH. I do. I've been watching GH since high school, right? But when a show like Y&R is actually more easy to follow than the vomit dumping soap opera known as General Hospital, where I'm like, I'm writing notes and I have to sit there and erase this part and I gotta do this and I gotta like, what are we doing? It just becomes a goddamn messy episode, and I feel like it's one of those things where it's like the show is just convinced that at this point we're just used to episodes like this, and it's not a small nitpick; it's a major nitpick. You know, like even if I was just watching it, and I was trying to discuss with my friends, I would be like, how would I even do that? How would I do that? I feel like so many things would just be mixed up. It's like the whole conversation would just be one giant effing mess. Anyway, now I feel like that's about it. Or not. Maybe I missed something else, but who knows? Anyway, with that being said, I'm gonna go. I'll be doing a live stream tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll talk about all the shows, you know what they are, and I will see you